In today's lesson, we're going to be working with multi-step equations. Last time we did two-step equations, and now we're going to do even more steps. We can do it, we just have to persevere and keep going. Okay, let's start with our first example. Whew, this is a big problem. Okay. We're going to underline as we go the information that we need to know so we don't forget. Let me grab a nice bright color here so that we can find that information. The school librarian, Mr. Marker, knows the library has 1,400 books. I'm going to mark that. That's important. But wants to reorganize how the books are displayed on the shelves. Mr. Marker needs to know how many fiction, nonfiction, and resource books are in the library. I'm going to underline that. That's what he wants to know. He needs to know these three informations. Okay. He knows that the library has 4 times as many fiction books as resource books. It's a long one. 4 times as many fiction books as resource books, and half as many nonfiction books as fiction books. If these are the only types of books in the library, how many of each type of book are in the library? The only number it has given me is 1,400 books. All right, so let's draw some diagrams to kind of help us visualize these books. I'm going to draw my first diagram to represent all 1,400 books. Books. Okay. I need to know how many fiction, nonfiction, and resource books are in the library. All right. Well, the one that has the least amount, let's see. There are 4 times more fiction books as resource, so we know resource has fewer right now. There's half as many nonfiction as fiction, so I think nonfiction might be more. Let's start with resource books because I think it has the fewest number of books. So I'm going to label so I don't forget resource. And here's how many resource books we have. Okay, we have 4 times as many fiction books as resource. So we're going to do 4 of these to do our fiction books, to represent fiction. All right, 4 of those. Oh, probably there. I don't think I made my 1,400 big enough. Okay. There are half as many nonfiction books as fiction. So if this is fiction, we have half as many, so we're going to cut it in half. This is how many nonfiction books we have. Go to here because it's half as many. Okay, so all of these make up this. I should have made that bigger, I think. Okay, now, where do we go from here? Well, we have to assign a variable. So because the resource has the smallest number of books, I think we should use R as our variable. So this is going to represent the resource books, R. Now, each box that is that length is the same number of books. So we're going to put R in each of these boxes. All right, so there are R resource books, there are 4 R fiction books, and there are 2 R nonfiction books. So far, so good, right? Okay, I'm going to draw a representation. If we put all of these books together, they're going to equal this one. So I'm going to make this bigger. I'm going to show what this looks like. So here's my 1,400. Maybe that will be big enough. We'll make it work. Okay, 1,400 books. We have our resource books. We have, we'll go here, 4 are fiction books, and we have to our nonfiction books. Okay, and we just took out those middle lines in between our 4 and our 2Rs. Okay, now we need to work on an equation to solve algebraically the same problem. Okay, if we know that these are equal, then our equation, these are the two parts of our equation. The first part, I'm going to put on the right-hand side because that's kind of how we see it normally, is 1,400. Put it over on the right-hand side. We'll kind of work backwards here. Now, on this side, we have r plus 4r plus 2r equals 1,400. Now, that looks really complex. But really, if we count the r's, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 r's. 4, 5, 6, 7 r's. So we could just simplify. We're combining like terms. All the terms that have an r can go together because they're all r's. So we have 7 r's equal 1,400 books. All right, now we can solve. It's kind of like a one-step problem. If we know that this is 7 times r, we need to divide by 7. We want to get r all by itself. Whatever we did to the one side, we're going to do to the other side. Our identity property tells us these cancel out. We're left with r equals 200 books. Now I can replace r with 200, and I know that there are 200 resource books. There's 4 times 200. I could fill in my boxes. So I'm forgetting zeros here. Or I can take 4 times 200 to get 800 fiction books. And 2 times, I'm going to squish it over here, 2 times 200 gives me 400 nonfiction books. Because each R represents 200. Now the question was, how many, I should have marked that, apologize, how many of each type of book are in the library? That's what we need to know. Well, there are 200 resource books, 800 fiction books, and 400 nonfiction books. The end. Isn't that great? There's also another way to solve it, and I'd like to show you that other way as well, so that you could use either method. This method is real easy to visualize, and you can kind of see it and understand that these equal that. It's all that visual, so understanding why it works, excuse me. We can also use a table, and I've already created a table here. And this table, we can fill in information and get our total. Okay, we're going to go ahead and use what we know from our original tape diagrams, that we had our resource books. I made a table and labeled it fiction, nonfiction, resource, and then total books. Okay, we had 4R fiction and 2R nonfiction. That was a total of 7R. 7 times as many resource books for the whole thing. Okay, then we need to just give a value to R. If R equaled 1, if there was 1 resource book in the whole library, then we would have 4 times 1 is 4. So we'd have 4 fiction books. 2 times 1 is 2. 1 times nothing is 1. So we would have 4, 5, 6, 7 total books. Well, that's not enough. We need 1,400 books. So let's assign another value. What if R equaled 5? I like to work this way. Because if R equaled 5, we're going to have 5 there. It's kind of squished there. If R equals 5, we would have 5 times 2, which would be 10. 4 times 5, which is 20. 20, 30, 35. So we would have 35 total books. I don't think that's enough either. All right, let's get this up a little bit more. Let's see if it was 50. If R was 50. All right, so 50 times 2 is 100. 50 times 4 is 5 times 4 is 20, add a 0 for the 50. So we have 200, 350. Now we're looking for 1,400. I'm just going to put that, I'm going to put that up here. We want 1,400 books. So that's when we get there, we'll know we're at the right spot. All right, well, that's not enough. Let's keep going. What if we said R was 200? We need to bring that number way up, don't we? Okay, so this is 200. 2 times 200 is 400. 2 times 4 is 8, and 2 zeros makes 800. 8 and 2 is 10. 10 and 4 is 14. That would be 1,400. That's what we want. Now, these numbers led you right there. That was my goal. You could choose any numbers that you wanted, kind of a guess and check method. So you would choose one, and if it wasn't enough, you'd choose another. If it was too much, you would choose lower, and then continue until you got to your total number of books. Now, personally, I prefer this method because it's quicker. It's no guessing, no checking. Well, there's checking at the end, but there's no guessing. It just works. Now, I don't think we checked it. Maybe we should check it too. Some of your problems on your homework may ask you to use this method, guess and check. Okay? Some of them may ask you to use this method, and that would be my preference. You could choose whichever one you prefer. Okay, let's do our checking here because we did forget to do that. All of these books together should equal 1,400. So I'm going to check. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. 100. There's my zeros. 200, 400, 600, 800, 1,000, 1,200, 1,400. It works. I can add all the 200s up. It works. All right, if you have any questions, please put them in your ISN. We'll talk about them tomorrow.